Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good morning. Hi,
Uh,
greetings.
I'm
Good
Kelly
morning.
Murray. Good morning. I'm here with the Consortium for Service Innovation. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. I'm joined by my fellow staff members, Matt, Jennifer, Sarah, and Jill. We make up almost all of the staff of the six of us on the consortium. We are a not-for-profit organization. We exist thanks to the support of our approximately 70 member companies. And together, we work on how we make our customers more successful, mostly through things like knowledge sharing and collaboration and making sense of all of these new tools and capabilities that are coming online. My goal these days is to never be the first person to say AI in a meeting, but I'm just blowing that right out of the water today. The consortium is a vendor neutral organization, but we do have a program that designates tools that provide a complete set of capabilities that are required to enable all 8 KCS practices. And that program is called KCS Verified. eGain is a verified tool, and next month, Arvind Gopal, who's the VP of Product Management and Product Strategy, will demonstrate how eGain leverages AI capabilities to support and accelerate KCS workflows. So we'll drop a link to that event in the chat. That's happening next month. While you're in the chat, if you have a moment, perhaps you can help me with a project that I'm working on. I would love to hear just a word or two about qualities that you look for in a leader. So if you think of about somebody who you admire as a leader, what's a word or two that comes to mind, like thoughtful or bold or any other sort of leadership qualities that come to mind? That would be very helpful for me. And today, as you're doing that, I would love to introduce Florian Hasse, who is a support manager at TOPdesk, and he's going to tell us about his journey with KCS. We are anticipating time for Q&A at the end. In the meantime, you are encouraged to put questions and comments in the chat. We are recording this event, and you'll receive an email with the recording in the next day or two. And if nobody else has any housekeeping kinds of things, I think we're ready for Florian to take it away.
Nice. Thank you very much, Kelly, for the
Thanks
nice
so much.
introduction. I assume that my screen is already shared.
Looks great.
Perfect. Then also, good morning, good afternoon. From my side, my name is Florian. I'm the support manager of the German region of the TOPdesk company. And I got invited to share my view on the KCS process, on KCS or knowledge work in general. And the best way of putting this, in my opinion, is to share our backstory with knowledge management and knowledge work, and basically what we've been through all the years. Let's get going. To be a little bit more structured, the topics I'm going to talk about is like I'm doing a very short introduction of myself, then I'm doing a very short introduction of TOPdesk so that you are able basically to catch up our environment where our KCS project flourished. And then I'm taking you through the steps of our KCS journey, the environment we're working in, the first try, the reboot. So already slight spoiler alert there, the struggles and the success we are currently having with it. And of course, I'm talking about the most important part in the end, about coaching and how to make knowledge count. Who am I? Well, my name is Florian. I'm the team lead of the TOPdesk support in the DACH region, and DACH is like an abbreviation for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I'm working for TOPdesk since 2011. Since 2011, I've had multiple job occupations at TOPdesk. I started as a student in support. I switched to internal IT. I switched to consultancy. And I put a focus on technical consultancy. And since July 2022, that will become important later, I switched to the team lead position of the support DACH region. Just an introduction that you know the software we are dealing with, because TOPdesk only deals with TOPdesk topics. So we are developing, supporting, implementing TOPdesk. And of course, we are using our own tool. So basically eating our own medicine here, which works in some cases with knowledge management. It's a different topic, but we will see that later on. Well, TOPdesk isn't a new company. We are here for over 25 years. We have expanded to several countries. We have 11 branches, over 5,600 customers, and we are employing 900 beautiful people. In very, very short, TOPdesk is an ITIL-based ITSM tool. So everything IT service management related. TOPdesk itself is built on a functional base. So you have like call management function, change management, supporting files, SLA, project, the list goes on. And most important, knowledge management. And the knowledge management module is the built-in module. So everyone who purchases or subscribe to TOPdesk has access to knowledge management, which makes it even more important. So now let's get to the nitty-gritty. The environment in which we rebuild the KCS process or KCS in general is the following. The whole TOPdesk support department, doesn't matter the branch, doesn't matter the country, we are working in one TOPdesk environment. So we are sharing the same incidents, we are sharing the same knowledge items, and we encounter, of course, also some barriers like language barriers, drop-down list dependencies, and all the fun stuff. You find out when you go on the KCS journey. I'm personally responsible for 10 people, and in general, customer registers are registering incidents. If I say incidents, that's a TOPdesk lingo you can refer to as call management, but I'm ingrained with incidents, therefore, and customers can register incidents by phone, by our service portal, or by mail. We share the same incident process over all the branches, over all the countries, and we have more or less the same hierarchy system in every support department. Like you have one support manager, you have one or two lieutenants, and then supporters and the knowledge workers itself. And what I've mentioned in the beginning, we have the same knowledge base for everyone. So we have like 11 different branches. So we have 11 different demands. We have therefore a very diverse customer base who basically has different opinions and basically different demands on the knowledge base. But this is the environment we are talking about. And let's get to the fun stuff. KCS journey, the first try. Before we can look into future, we have to look back to the past. It was the year 2015. TOPdesk as a company, it was decided that we need to that we need to align and streamline our support processes. And of course, doesn't matter basically the field your company works in. One of the first things that always pops up is knowledge management. So the call 2015 was knowledge all the way. We checked out some companies. We found also the consortium. We got in contact with the KCS representative from Germany, Kai Altenfelder, and basically got the people trained. And one of the first things I want to mention is that also back then, the coaches got KCS certification because we wanted very clear from the get-go. We want to have people certified so we can mark them as experts. If you have like a troublesome conversation, you always can refer, sorry, I'm the expert. I've done the training, I've done the exam. I know what I'm talking about. That is very important to us. Some managers back then got the task of having like a double role, like being responsible for the organizational part, for the functional part, and also then for the knowledge part. The processes back then, because we are always, or we in the past, we were a bit overconfident when it comes down to developing our own process, because we know what you're talking about. We are an ITSM vendor, we have knowledge management, we know all the stuff of the knowledge management, of course, but processes, yeah, they were designed without supporters, so they were on a very high flyer level. Processes were designed which field to fill out, which steps to take first, and that was not really beneficial in the end, because everyone was super enthusiastic in the beginning, because all the good things which come with KCS, of course, were advertised and some were also kicking in, but we were not even close, and definitely no cigar, because we made, as a support department, just some rookie mistakes. The basically what has happened, or what were the rookie mistakes? Well, the coaching itself wasn't that successful. If your coach is your manager, you always, as an employee, you always have target conflict. Are you doing it because of the knowledge? Are you doing it basically to get some check marks crossed? But you always will feel a target conflict. Also, it wasn't a real focus on the topic or on the knowledge work itself, because of course we in support, one of the key job elements is to close incidents. That is part of our job, but closing incident back in the days had a higher priority than knowledge work, because from the point of view KCS was introduced, we had the impression that we need to make ourselves knowledgeable about KCS. We get some certifications, we get some mantras like searching is creating and yada, 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 and then you're good to go. Nope, that wasn't the case. Also, the feedback cycle back then between coaches, managers high up, the feedback loop always were missing knowledge work. And our biggest mistake we've seen, that we basically had a look at KCS and went, well, KCS is a product. Like, we're making ourselves knowledgeable, we're getting the certifications, we're trying it, and from the first day we're starting with it, it will never change, because basically we bought the certification, or we bought the trainings for the certification, and then it is good to go. We made this huge mistake. We didn't saw it as like a living thing. We didn't saw it, or we didn't basically give it the importance of a living process. We thought of it as a product which just keeps on working. And that was basically our biggest mistake back in the day. Of course, this leads to a bad reputation since then for knowledge work or investing time in knowledge. One thing, one of the good things about TOPdesk is that like employee churn is very, very low. So you have a lot of old timers who basically have been through all the knowledge phases, and they're a bit hesitant, like, yeah, it's the same news or same old initiative. And also, after the very enthusiastic starting time, it was up to each individual supporter. If you do knowledge work, in some cases, yeah, you can elect it. No, you don't have to do it. If you do, it's fine, but no focus, no feedback, no surrounding, no environment. It was just up to individual, up to the individual, if you want to spend time and energy into knowledge items, which results in knowledge items like this. As you see, there's no clear structure, large usage of screenshots. Some markage is done with like inbuilt snipping tools, not a real nice of putting URLs in there, and basically completely a mess, because this knowledge item, it is just a piece of information, but it it's not service. It doesn't help anyone because it seems like you need additional help to understand what's going on. And kind of in this state, a lot of knowledge items were present in our knowledge base. A fun fact there, our knowledge base currently consists of roughly 19,500-ish KIs. So that's a lot of stuff to maintain, and a lot of the knowledge items have been looking like this. Well, that was the past. In short, very enthusiastic. We thought we had it in the back. We thought we knew what we're doing, and we expected KCS to just work because it's a process, it's a product, and we can use it from there. Now it's the year 2022 when I took over the support management role. And within my first few weeks, put it like this, I've overheard this lovely conversation. Supporter A mentioned, hey, I have no clue what to tell the customer right now. I can't get the grip on the incident. I understand the question, but I can't come up with a solution. Helpful supporter B mentioned, have you tried looking up the topic in our knowledge base? And supporter A and B gladly bursted out in cheerful laughter because based on the history we had with knowledge items, like using knowledge internally was a bit of like a burned topic. We knew it was there. Some articles were good if people basically putting a lot of time and energy, but in general, not a good place to be. And I've overheard that. And as I mentioned in my short introduction before, I was a technical consultant, and I personally never referred customers to the knowledge base because I know you can't find it. It is not structured. No right keywords were chosen. So better providing the service on my behalf to the customer than basically sending the customer to the knowledge base. But the thing that shifted, now I'm responsible for this. I am responsible now for service, and I'm a huge fan of a good delivered service. I'm also actually working still on 1 day in a week in our hotline, just that I'm also able to deliver services because that is what I like to do. And yeah, that was a shift of mind. And to be fair, overhearing and rethinking about that statement, that hit different now when you're responsible for supporters or all the processes which are responsible for delivering services. So I've made up my mind. I've drawn some conclusions, and I basically set myself a goal where I want to be with the support and basically where I want to be with the knowledge base. It's a phrase I'm commonly using, and I use it also later on in this presentation. I see the knowledge base as basically the backbone of everyone who's providing service. Yeah, if you can solve stuff on the phone, great. Send a knowledge item afterwards. It's always your backbone. In dire times where like a lot of people on vacation, sickness, people leaving, new people starting, the knowledge base is always the backbone of service. And it's up to you how basically how functional you want to have your backbone to be. So for the rebooting phase, I've set myself some guiding principles. I didn't want to redo the mistake over again and basically defining a process which works worldwide from the get-go because that was way too broad. So one guiding principle was I start in Germany first and I expand if it's a success. If not, I'm not going to talk about it, but in general, if it's a success, then of course I want to expand it. Instead of asking people who wants to be a coach, who do you think you could be a coach, I've basically handpicked coaches after a certain time when I got to know the people who are working with my team. I also did some sort of like a social network analysis, like who is good within the team, who is the go-to person if you have a question, who's the good soul of the team. And I think those are qualities I'm looking for in KCS coaches. So basically, head coaches or coaches were handpicked. Of course, I asked them if they want to do it, but they were basically handpicked. And what I also wanted to ensure for this time is the coaches needs to be KCS certified, and also want to have the coaches to have a coaching training that they always have. They are backbone to say, hey, I'm a certified expert. I know what I'm talking about. Nice try though, but I am the expert. That is the state I wanted to, and that I want to enable the coaches to being in that state of mind. And what I've heard when talking to other support managers, I personally wanted also to be certified because I think if I know what the coaches have learned in the coaching workshop, and for a manager, it's always good to have like some sort of coaching workshop, as you also mentioned in the attributes you want to see in a manager. But I want to have a better understanding of what's going on in the KCS world, and I also want to have a better judgment, and I also want to be involved in the knowledge work. So because I want to know what I'm talking about. I want to do the same work. I want to have the judgment. So I want to also be involved. And of course, it is not possible for every manager to basically do the same work as the people they care for. But in our case, in the support case, it is possible because I also want to be, I like to going forward and basically lead by example. So that was also something very personal and important for me and to this day. Another guiding principle for me was trust the process, trust the people. I can't draw myself like uh, huge scenarios, what could go wrong, what could go right, what I have to do. But at some point, I decided to put the trust in to put the trust in the people and trust over processes. And the last guiding principle I had was I don't want to ask people if you want to join the knowledge work club. I've also like handpicked people like, hey, you seem like a good candidate that could really benefit from knowledge work because you're very knowledgeable and you have a good communication style. And I think knowledge work could suit your working style more. So over the time, we started with volunteers. We also had those, and then also handpicked people. And we didn't set it in the beginning as a demand. It was not, now we're doing KCS and everyone has to do it. And after the 6th of June, everyone needs to follow KCS. No, no. We gave in our coaching group, we gave ourselves the time frame of like 9 months that we're trying to convince people over the range of 9 months to just jump on the bandwagon. That was basically the guiding principle. And was different than the process design, the input from Kai Altenfelder. We developed our own content standard on how we want to have a knowledge item structured. We developed a way of working document. We've documented basically everything to the nitty gritty. We had like a document where say, this is header 1, this is header 2, those are bullet points, click paths are basically written down like this. And we've shared this with everyone. We printed it out. We gave it to everyone. We made in our knowledge base knowledge items explaining the content standard of knowledge items so everyone has access to it and that there are no excuses like, hey, I didn't find the content standard, I didn't know what to do. No, we wanted to be very vocal about it, we want to be very public about it, and giving people everything from the get-go what they need. And yeah, the struggles I've been through, or the struggles we had, like rebooting, even though I had the guiding principles in mind, rebooting seems kind of tough, as I mentioned, because knowledge is like, or knowledge management is a topic non grata. Many people burned their hands, invested time, got no reward. Okay. Very struggling. That was um, one of the most struggles we had. But I've decided that I'm going to push through the veil of tears Everyone needs to go through that, but I don't want to push as a manager. I want to push with my coaches. And as I mentioned in the beginning, coaches are the most important thing a KCS group of people can have. So I'm pushing with the coaches. I'm deciding stuff with the coaches, but the decision in the end will be done by the coaches. And coaches are, it's very willingly that coaches can argue with me or basically decide against my topic or my ideas I had back then. But coaches in the end, they're doing the final decision because they're the pros. And um, I didn't want that my people or my team basically see the coaches as like some marionettes or some that I'm the puppet master of the coaches and the coaches are doing the stuff to my willing. No, no, no. When it comes down to KCS, KCS coaches has the last word, and somewhere down the line I am, but KCS coaches first. So the Veil of Tears. Well, we needed to reinvent the wheel against all prejudice with all the burnt knowledge topics. And when we started with the initiative, when we started with the first people, of course, all the bad things from the Veil of Tears come up. Of course, the incident numbers go up because the solution time goes. It is not like the good old process, hey, incident closure next, incident closure next. No, it's taking the incident, searching the knowledge base, trying to find a suitable KI. If there is one, please adjust it. If there is none, please solve the incident, create a knowledge item afterwards. So from a 10-minute incident, from a duration wise, boom, you're now certainly at like 35, 40 minutes because people are not used to the way of working with the knowledge item. So horrible time to be in. And people need to adjust to the new way of working. People want to obey. People forget stuff. And what I've also have been dealing with is like that people, especially in support, and everyone gets outsourced to other countries or to AI chatbots or whatsoever. The fear is somehow real, and that was also one struggle I had to convince people that we are investing in the people invest trust in the company, and I also invited higher up managers to support meetings where we talked about KCS to give the stamp of approval from really, really higher up managers, say, no, 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 invest time in this. This is the right thing to do. And also, one big struggle was that people had a feeling that like their individual skill gets standardized because everything you know is put into a knowledge item, and if the knowledge item is finely written, everything which makes the people unique is gone with knowledge, with the usage of knowledge items, but that's not the case. So was the struggles we had and some parts to overcome it. And I think the struggle paid off in the end because we went from here to this. As I mentioned, we made up our mind to see how we want to structure these. We want to get rid of screenshots. We have a huge document of all the guidelines on how to style a knowledge item correctly. That basically doesn't matter the topic, a knowledge item looks always the same. Pardon the German. But all basically everything in header is same for an international content standard as well. So we invested a big chunk of time because in Germany, we have like 10 people in our team. And in our biggest branch in the Netherlands, in Delft, there were like 45 people. And back in the days, like 2022, 2023, we didn't want to convince them to start either. So it was really a big task in a group of 10 people to fight against back then like 7,000 knowledge item and restyling it. And because in Germany, we have, of course, German-speaking customers and English-speaking customers, so we have to do it in two languages because we want to provide good service. And yeah, so we put a lot of time in it, some frustration, but did it pay off in the end? Did we have success? And if we had success, how to measure it, because I'm sticking to one of the mantras from consortium or from KCS in general, that we are measuring outcomes and not activities, because I don't want to involve people in like, hey, I expect from you 10 knowledge items, because in the end I would get 10 knowledge items, but content would be not that great, it wouldn't be that helpful, and people just doing it for the check marks, and I really want to prohibit it. So how do we measure success if we try to measure the outcome and not activities? Because measuring activities is always very easy. How did we do? I can present you something from an internal documentation where we compared basically our last 2 quarters. And even though that incident deflection isn't what we're aiming for, it is a side effect or a side arm of a proper knowledge management. Even though we're not aiming for it, and that's not a good thing to do. But our ticket volume went down. And as you see in the average first line, this is the stuff we're measuring about, the time to get a solution also decreased. And even though it's an activity, it was important for higher up managers to see how the adoption rate of KCS is reflected in, like, what is the ratio of solved with knowledge items versus without. It's an understandable measure to have. And yeah, and I can elaborate on that. Currently, we are full-blown KCS in Germany. We're doing it in the Netherlands. We have an international group of coaches also in Brazil and in Denmark. And currently, we're really kicking off with the initiative worldwide to basically see how far can we bring down these numbers. But this is global success, like how many incidents are coming in, solution time, reopening rate, stuff like that. But talking from a local perspective, the orange line is the amount of incidents, and the black line is basically the amount of customers. And we started with KCS really when we had the whole team on board in like 2024 January. Then everyone was on board, everyone embraced it. And as you see, even though we managed to up our customer game on like 120, 150, our amount of incidents stay more or less the same. Of course, December incidents go down, marketing initiatives, incidents go up. But in general, we are keeping, or we're having a steady input stream for the first time. It wasn't like in May we had like 800 incidents, and in June we had like 200. No, we have now a steady income stream. We are able to more or less predict what is coming next, what is coming up. And that is a nice thing to do. We've created some internal reports because I am keen on reports if we measure the right facts. And for example, for me, it is a good ratio of incidents. Incident get reopened, customers have back questions. That's totally normal. This is the ratio of incidents being reopened, and orange is solved without knowledge items, green is solved with knowledge items. And we see like a trending graph that if you close an incident with a knowledge item, the reopening rate is far lower than if you freestyle the solution, even though the solution might be right. And not every solution can be put in a knowledge item, but in general, the reopening rate went down. And of course, we have some health measurements like availability in our portal versus non-available to get just some feedback in. Yeah, one of my phrases I've used internationally also to convince other, no, I didn't have to convince them, but I was advertising it. That is the better way to put it, like make knowledge count. As I mentioned, knowledge base, backbone of every service provider. And nowadays, when people are in the office and basically it's a regular work day, I see that knowledge or the usage of knowledge is in the daily wording of the people, because we actively argue about knowledge items. I've I really enjoy the conversations when two supporters argue which knowledge item suits this case better, or basically if they are able to find the knowledge item with the least amount of work to put in to adjust it to the latest content standard. I really enjoy those kind of conversations. Also, for me, from the get-go, it was very important the team creates results with the knowledge work, and those results they are shared. We have like a monthly team meeting, and we share the progress of our knowledge work month to month, so that no one ever comes to the idea or the conclusion that this topic is over, because it is never over, and it's a good thing that it's never over. We embraced it, that the knowledge item is our backbone. For example, in July, we had like, as I mentioned, we had a team of 11 people, including myself. 6 people were basically every time on holiday, and people got sick also. And there were like days where we supported 1,000 customers with like 3 or 4 people. And in the personal conversations I have with my supporters, I said, hey, how do you feel about the workload last month? Ah, pretty easy. Everything was handled, not only exclusively to knowledge items, because I'm grateful for that, very skilled co-workers, but also knowledge gives the relief that there is something to look for, at least some inspiration to do that. And of course, we are proud of the service we are able to deliver 24/7 while only working 8 hours. And to the fact that we as a support department, we are very service driven. We don't want to find a answer, we want to find the answer, and therefore knowledge management helps us to get that. I've mentioned it a few times. Coaching is the most important thing, and I just want to talk about how we structured our coachings, what we are doing with the coachings, and how our coaching session look like. As I mentioned, coaching is the most important thing. Selecting coaches is the second most important thing. And as I mentioned, if you have people in your team who are socially outgoing, who are well respected, who have a good reputation, always good coaching candidates. And if, of course, if people are honest and if they are able to talk honest, even though a mistake or stuff has happened, that's always very important. And as I mentioned, key to success. That's every time we're talking about knowledge management, I always quickly refer to coaches and how important they are. Now comes the insane part. We are 11 people and we have 3 coaches. Basically, 3 coaches for each coach. That is an insane number. Because when I talk to other companies and they're like, yeah, there's one coach responsible for 30 people. And when I'm talking about the numbers or the way I wanted to have it, it's an insane number. Why did I choose to do that? I think on the one hand, coaches need feedback from coaches. In our case, coaches are coaching coaches. So there's a never-ending feedback loop on how to coach correctly. The 3 coaches within or with each other, they are like brutally strict. Like if there is a minus, a dash too much. If there's like a blank space everywhere, minus points in your KCS coaching. But they want to be very brutal to each other so they can ensure that they are fair to others. And it's an insane amount, but for me, it's also a part of scalability. If a coach gets sick, we have a backup coach. If a coach basically switches to another company, switches to another department or whatsoever, the KCS project isn't depending on like 1 or 2 people because it's built on multiple shoulders. And this is part of the stability I wanted to ensure for everyone. And we have like 2 coaching sessions a month. We have like roughly, we collect incident and knowledge data for like 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks in a row that we are able to present the latest data on our internal meeting. So we can talk about the success. And so everyone has roughly 2 coachings with roughly 30 minutes. The coaches itself, basically, they got the allowance to sneak through other people incidents to judge if they did the knowledge work in the incident and the case management right, and if they did the knowledge management right, which is only possible if you select the right coaches, where people basically trust the coaches that they are not the sneaky kind, or that they really want to have the best in mind for the knowledge work. And fun fact, it isn't a lie. On like 1 hour ago, I had my coaching, and I think then it's fair to share my coaching results with you, because I'm still doing hotline work, still doing knowledge work, and I think I did a pretty good month, to be fair. To talk you through the stuff, we are putting emphasis on the coaching. On the top right, we agreed that each month we are looking at 5 knowledge items, either freshly created or adjusted, whatever a random selection basically hands over to the coaches. Then we have a brief summary, and then basically all the comments where coaches in advance, because that is also important for me, coaches are prepared in the meeting. You start the coaching, coach is there, coach has every information up and running to provide help and input to the coaches. And as you see, I'm making super minor and rookie mistakes, like using double quotes, using the wrong headers and stuff like that. But that helps me to get a better judgment that that is a normal thing to do and not something special. Also, people get the allowance to sneak through the incidents. So basically, to see if only one knowledge item is linked, if the right knowledge item is linked, because we measure the success of our team on like 4 quadrants, like CSC was the content standard checklist we had in mind was obeyed. Every heading, every arrangement, fine. How was the link rate based on the 5 picked incidents? How was the link accuracy? So did you link the right knowledge item to the right question? And the contribution index on like, did you create or modify the knowledge items? And our coaches are filling out this list. It's a big list of Excel magic that basically the numbers of the diagrams are created automatically. And after each coaching sessions, the coaches get this sent by mail. They get also like a PDF document on a homework one to adjust the minor mistakes. And this happens week by week, month after month, that basically everyone gets ingrained and get the nice feedback, not from a manager top-down perspective, sondern from a colleague on eye-to-eye side on what to improve on their knowledge work. And the good thing about that is I rarely need to jump into that cycle, because it's a self-fulfilling cycle. People get coachings, people get feedback, people adjust to the feedback, and then it's just an evolve loop, to put it in like known or not known lingo. What we're also doing, we as the coaches, we have like an overview over the 3 teams to see which team struggles with what topic. Is there something to improve? Do we see a trend? Maybe at certain people or at certain times, to be able to decide in the group of 4, like 3 coaches and myself, what to do, or sharing like coaching techniques or like wording techniques and whatsoever, that we basically are able to report on the success. Because yeah, a good amount of stuff I'm doing with the knowledge work is built on trust, but the numbers need to pay back the trust to basically have more in stock, to being able to trust the people more. And for us, that is a very good way to go. That's it. I'm at the last slide. I hope I got you through our KCS journey, our struggles, our success, some guiding principles, and I hope I've mentioned how important coaches are enough. And therefore, before we come to the Q&A, I want to say a special thanks to Kelly for the opportunity to present, Kai Altenfelder for teaching us the way of knowledge, my managers, to trust me, my team, and the process, and of course, my team, the international coaches, for pushing through the veil of tears in every branch. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Florian. There are a handful of questions in the chat. And going back a little ways, Wendy asks, with all users sharing the same knowledge base, are all articles available in multiple languages?
Yes. Basically, in TOPdesk, you can decide which language do you want to support. And if you decide, for example, to support the German language, you always have like a translation ribbon, and you see all the possible translations one in a row. And therefore, yeah, if we in Germany, if we create a knowledge item, we make it in we create it in German and in English. For our Danish colleagues, they create it in Danish and so on. So every country is more or less responsible for English and their own language.
Okay. Rhonda asks, is the resolved by KCS ratio monitoring the overall link rate percentage? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that resolved by KCS ratio in general.
Yes, that is basically the link rate. That is not basically, no, that is the link rate on the amount of the incidents based on the last quarter.
Great. And is there any accuracy in terms of link accuracy check on that, or that's just someone participated in searching and linking a knowledge article?
Yes.
That's great.
For next year, when the internationalizing of the knowledge work really paid off, and I'm also looking for basically to having other measurements, but as a fair deal to see the adoption rate in the link rate, how often the knowledge is used. That gives a good sense of how well is the process accepted. And to be fair, we made also a mistake there in in our reporting because we adjusted our coaching methodology. In the beginning, we said we're only counting incidents with linked knowledge items. Coaching evolves itself, and now if we're handing out links to an API documentation, to our manuals, we count that also as a valid link because we're promoting knowledge. We're promoting knowledge on an external source. And these external links, they aren't reflected in that ratio yet.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Rahul says, this is really an insightful and inspiring presentation. Yes, it is. He's curious, as part of this framework, are you also tracking metrics like the self-help rate or the impact on ticket deflections? It seems like a natural extension of the value you're creating.
One sad part about the incident deflection is you can't measure the incidents which aren't created.
That's an ongoing problem for lots of the folks who are doing knowledge work.
Yes. So there's maybe someone of you have also good ideas for fair reporting, but I have come to a conclusion what to do with that problem. And sorry, what was the first part again? I'm truly sorry.
No, that's okay. Tracking metrics like the self-help rate or the impact on ticket deflection.
We have like a built-in counter on how often a knowledge item is used in the self-service portal. That is one measurement we've taken into consideration. We can also run some reports on like how often is a knowledge item mentioned, but currently we don't specifically measure the self-help approach because we're just convinced that we're doing the right stuff and that we're transporting that to the outside. What we are currently thinking of is like when an incident gets closed, the customer is sent like an email where, hey, please rate your service experience. And we are thinking of like adding some sort of knowledge segment about that to gather some feedback about the knowledge base. And we have a roadshow, of course, only in Europe at a given time. And also there's our knowledge work presented. And from there, the callers interact with the coaches basically, and they have some fair share talk about the evolution of the knowledge base. But when it comes down to self-help, no measurements there.
Just a very brief plug, and I bet Sarah is available to drop the link in the chat to the Measuring Self-Service Success paper, which is really
Mm,
understanding success by channel, which is one way that consortium members have made an attempt to get credit for the knowledge work that we do in the assisted channel by looking at some measurements in self-help and in communities. So that's just
mm,
one way that some folks have visualized that I offer to the group
mhm.
here.
Great.
Callie would like to know if you have a KCS program manager.
Yes, it's myself. Um,
Very good.
if depending on what we're understanding of the KCS pro of the project manager, since like 2 months ago, I've raised my hand to take care of international adoption of knowledge work within TOPdesk. So if you mean that by that position, yes.
Wonderful. At this stage, asks Mark, how would you rate your organization's knowledge management maturity?
On like a scale from 1 to 10,
Sure. He doesn't provide a scale. Hmm.
I
Maybe
would
maybe a different way to think about this question is, are there things you think you're missing or looking forward to next? Or do feel like your program's pretty robust and um,
the when it comes down to the usage, I think we are on a good track of like a 7.5 of a maturity level. When it comes down to the knowledge base module, the module currently it gets completely overhauled with inputs from the KCS people, which is very good. But currently, besides a nice view and some good highlighting mechanisms and some nice HTML segments, we have close to no comfort, to be fair, or to be so from a knowledge base module we are developing, and it's nice to see the end of the tunnel. But from like two wise, when it got 4 and then 4.5 to 5 from a usage and adoption rate, we are on a good yeah, 7.5.
mm, great. Darren says one problem I run into in my coaching sessions is article linking. Are there any arguments for or against linking? I'm a big proponent of linking. However, I have a hard time convincing my people that they should be linking and provide a number of reasons why they don't.
Interesting. um yeah, I'm also a proponent of linking. And we have basically the same situation with our coaching. In our coachings, and basically coaches need to explain why they don't link. And in the top desk world, there are several reasons, like it was only an internal knowledge item, which isn't refined enough, or it contains like a sensitive information or information that would harm the customer, like SQL database expressions where basically customers could do their harm. Um, but my arguments for linking is linking is one of the first milestones and enables basically the self-fulfilling loop. Because if you link an incident, you enable the chance that you get feedback on that. If you start linking knowledge items, you best case you searched before. So basically linking is one of the first milestones, and then best repeating step to improve the knowledge management. And um, yeah, that is my
Yeah,
part.
I think just in terms of an argument for linking is it's
Mm,
the activity that drives any benefit that you see out of KCS.
yeah.
Is how we talk about it from the perspective of what we're attempting to do is stop recreating the same answers to problems over and over again and identify which problems are coming up in a regular way so that we can remove those problems from the environment. And so if you I think we're at an interesting sort of crossroads in terms of until now, linking has been a manual process in terms of I have to do something that indicates that this article or knowledge item solved this particular case. If there is a different way to indicate reuse, then that's
Mhm.
great. But what we're trying to do is indicate accurate reuse so that we can really have a full picture of the customer's experience and that we
Mhm.
can affect that customer's experience and so that we can do some root cause analysis later. But from my perspective, that's step number one to make the engine of KCS and all of its attendant
Running.
benefits
Yeah.
go. Yeah, yeah. I am going to need you to pop into the chat to read Rhonda's question, if you can.
Mhm.
Or, Rhonda, if you want to come off mute and ask it.
An der Anzahl Incidents zu Kundenzahl, das dazu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Okay.
I don't even have it in my view, so I might have just completely bungled it. My question is, I'm trying to figure out in that graph that you have for the DACH
Yeah.
metric, is that where in that did you introduce KCS?
That is not part of that graph. We introduced KCS with like late to 2023, early 2024, and yeah.
Can you speak a little bit to what it might have looked like before and after your KCS introduction?
For me, one important part is basically the customer to case ratio.
Yes.
And when I'm looking at incident stats, historically incident stats from like 2023, 2022, 3 and 4, we have been dealing with most month over 500 till 600 and some month over 600 incidents, of course, with a lower rate of customers. And now basically we are somewhere checking in between 400 and 500 each month with a growing customer base.
Okay. That's fantastic. I'm trying to advocate for that type of metric tracking.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'll be using your graphic. I hope you don't mind.
We're huge fans of reuse around here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Pablo says, not all the time we have many resources to have coaches. Are there, how can you structure the roles without it? And I would encourage if anybody has thoughts about that they want to drop into the chat for Pablo, that would be very helpful. Any thoughts from you, Florian?
Well, I'm aware that I'm in a pretty luxurious situation, that I'm aware of that. But if it comes down to capacity, and I think it's also fair to scale down the KCS-iness, to put it like this. Like not aiming for like tough goals and like after Q1, after Q2, after Q3, instead of just focusing on smaller steps like link rate, or only measuring some sort of creation or some sort of feedback on the incident. But I think you need at least to have one coach, given I don't know the amount of people you are working with. But I think you need at least one, and then just scale the targets a bit lower, or just some other metrics like the content standard. Was the content standard obeyed? Yes, no. Everything else doesn't matter for now until the people obey that, and then put on another, and then put on another. Like choose your path, what seems easiest for you to adopt first, and then build on that. That would be my advice.
We are just about at time. I'm dropping Sarah dropped all of our words that we collected about qualities
Mhm.
of a leader into our friend ChatGPT, which kicked us back out most frequently repeated terms and some themes, just to kind of wrap us up here. I see there are a couple more questions in the chat. Florian, I will reach out to you about those to get those answered. And otherwise, Thank you so much, Florian. Thank you, everyone who joined us today. It was a lovely time hearing about your journey with KCS, and we'll hope to see everybody on another call again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.